Are we going?
We're proper serious.
We're going from comedy to
we're going from
devastation.
comedy to devastating news.
Hang on.
Now, last week, I'm going to play a little clip. Last week, I'm a big fan of Joe Rogan, as you know.
Yeah.
Daddy, I love you. And on Joe Rogan.
On Joe Rogan?
On Joe Rogan.
Bon Joe Rogan.
No. On Joe Rogan, he had a guest. Now, I'm going to be really annoying. I've forgotten the name of the guest.
Oh.
I can find out on me Twitter. Hold on.
Guys, if you haven't subscribed or even heard... John, my friend John, not John who lives with me, John.
Right.
Did not know who Joe Rogan was. I had to educate the man. John.
Fucking idiot.
You better have subscribed by now.
John, you're an idiot. I don't care. If you don't know who Joe Rogan is, I don't want to know who you are.
Do you know
I have no time for people who don't know who Joe Rogan is. Not knowing who Joe Rogan is means you're an idiot.
Yeah, an idiot.
It means you're an absolute idiot.
Either that or he has a life and doesn't spend a lot of time online.
I just don't understand. Like, where do you have to have been for the last 20 years? Where do you get your knowledge from? Where do you investigate? Where do you research? He's obviously not well researched or educated. He doesn't know who Joe fucking Rogan is.
Oh, you're going to eat your words.
I fucking
He's
won't.
a very highly intelligent man. He's very nice as hell.
He doesn't know who the Joe Rogan Experience.
He didn't know.
A podcast specifically designed to spread awareness and education from
he
experts within their fields.
He didn't. No, he didn't.
I've got no time for it. Got no time for it.
I have, John.
Now, unfortunately, the internet here is not great today. Now, I can't remember the guy's name, which is unfortunate because I'll play the clip.
I look at these topics that we're into: cataclysms, Younger Dryas, lost ancient technology.
Magnetic poles.
That's the one thing. That's I would like to dive into that.
I watched a video on that this morning. The Adam and Eve video.
Oh yeah, the Chan Thomas thing.
Jesus Christ.
That's an interesting one. And
how much of that is agreed upon? That there could be a time where the magnetic poles actually shift.
So this is science. They say that the last one was like 778,000 years ago, and we're like something like 200,000 years overdue. But the Adam and Eve story, the theory of that is that it happens in cycles of 6,500 years, and that it's a 90-degree flip, but 6 days later, or on the seventh day, it corrects itself.
The planet flips, not just
correct. It's a planet flip, 90-degree, and that because of it, the Earth essentially does a standstill. The sun will basically stay in the same spot, causing heating like we've never experienced, and that the wind and the waters continue with their momentum. Because essentially the wind travels at approximately 1,000 miles an hour at the equator. So the theory is that when that event happens, it's going to be cataclysmic. And here's the wild thing is that in that document it says a continental-sized tsunami being 2 miles high. Well, I showed you the Emikusi volcano in Africa in the Sahara, which is at 11,300 feet, that has salt as well as evidence of gastropods, sea life.
That's 2 miles high.
Yes. And I'm like... it would make a lot of sense. Like if you look at the Bible and involving like Revelations and it's saying like
6 days.
6 days on the seventh day God rested. In that document it says 6 days things start simmering down a bit, and by day 7 things are starting over new.
So what's the science behind this complete reversal of the magnetic poles?
So real quick, this is the part that sets me off about this is that any article you ever read on this, it makes it crystal clear that this will not be apocalyptic. Maybe we'll potentially have some satellite communication issues that could affect our power grid and telecommunication systems, and that's going to be unfortunate. But don't worry, it's not a doomsday. I'm like, okay, first of all, if the grid goes down, that is doomsday. But number two, they don't know what they're talking about because they claim that the geomagnetic pole shift is because of the interior, whether it's the iron core or whatever it is, the molten core, does a shift, and because of it, that's why the compass will flip. But I'm like, if you look at the nature of earthquakes, some originate in the crust, others originate in the mantle, in the parts that aren't solid. So I'm like, if you're saying that the interior that is molten does a shift, why on earth would you suggest that it wouldn't cause earthquakes or volcanic activity on the surface? So I feel like every article I ever read on geomagnetic pole shifts, they go out of their way to say, don't worry, it's fine. And I'm like, but yet the evidence shows that it's accelerating. Back in just the 1990s, it was traveling the North Pole was transitioning at 10 miles a year. Now it's at 40 or almost 40 miles. It's accelerating. And in the Adam and Eve story, it talks about, actually, no, not the Adam and Eve story. There was a documentary on Nova years ago that the evidence shows that when they've studied all the other volcanic rock for prior known pole shifts, because keep in mind, there's hundreds that are known. This has happened throughout millions and millions of years. This is mainstream science. The poles do flip. But it's not that the Earth flips over. It's that the inside core does, and so your magnetic compass will flip. Like,
what causes it?
So whatever that molten core is, it does a shift inside. It allegedly happens in cycles, and we're long overdue. And when it happens, the other theory is that the Earth's shields will be diminished.
Well, definitely. So we know two things right now: is that the pole is moving, so it's off. I think it's off even the South Pole might be off of Antarctica at this point, like the magnetic south. And then the magnetic field, consequently to this movement, is weakening. So we know our magnetic field, and that's where a lot of that danger is going to come from, is if the magnetic field keeps weakening. Now, everything cosmically that happens is going to hit the Earth, and particularly us with our electronics, it's all going to get more easily smashed, because the magnetic field is what protects us from solar flares and cosmic radiation and all this stuff. So as the field and the acceleration of that weakening of the field, is accelerating. So it's getting weaker faster. So we seem to be heading towards a unknown or undetermined time where the poles may shift, like the polarity of the Earth will shift, and the compasses.
And
will flip,
are there any estimates on when this could possibly take place?
According to every article I ever read, like, oh, don't worry, it's probably be another 1,000 years. I'm like, you have no idea what you're talking about. It's accelerating, and if you look, you don't have to Google this, Jamie. I don't know there's a mountain chain in eastern Oregon where it's the most evidence of a pole shift. That there was a volcano that was active during the shift, and if you take a compass along the volcanic rock, the compass will slowly start to change, and so wherever like pottery or volcanic rock solidifies, that wherever the North Pole is at that time, it's an imprint, and the compass will continue to show that. It's really fun. Take a compass around volcanic rock, and it'll move the compass to wherever the North Pole was then. But here's the interesting part, is that what it shows is that the pole shifts start slow, and then they accelerate to the point where the day that it happens, you could potentially see the compass slowly moving. And then when you go back to this Adam and Eve story talking about the pole shift, they say that the event happens in approximately a quarter of a day, so 6 hours. So it's like it comes out of nowhere. And I'm like, what if, like, I'm into the cosmic impact, that there's unbelievable evidence that definitely happened. But there's other things that happen on Earth, whether it's super volcanoes. What if that's related to pole shifts as well? And the reason why the evidence wouldn't be necessarily that we couldn't find it is because if the Adam and Eve story, if the details discussed in it are accurate, the reason why we're not seeing the evidence of it is because it flips right back and thus masks the evidence that it ever happened.
Of what I'm referring to. But in this clip, you'll see that this expert, I'm so annoyed I've forgotten his name, this expert talks about how the Earth's core has slowed down and stopped. The rotation of the Earth's core has stopped, and they think it's going to go back the other way, and it's part of the process where the magnetic poles flip. And he said in there that the conspiracy is that the governments aren't telling us how dangerous this is, because when the core starts to slow down, it's going to have an effect on the mantle and the upper crust, which will have an effect on volcanoes and earthquakes. This was 3 weeks ago. The core stopped 3 weeks ago, and they were talking about how it was stopping that week. And then 3 weeks later, devastating news from Turkey.
So do you think that's what's caused it?
It's a bit of a coincidence.
I don't think it's a fast
It's a bit of a coincidence, yeah.
Oh my God.
Because if you think about it, the Earth's mantle, the crust, sits on top of all this lava, right? And then obviously volcanoes are the quick release valve pressure system from that thing to let off a bit of pressure and steam, quite literally. And then the tectonic plates, they're moving based on the lava movement. So if the lava movement slows down or stops, or there's an interruption of some kind, it's going to eventually affect the outer layers.
So do we know what because this happens was it 900 years?
I can't. No, 9 years, I believe it is.
Is it 9 years?
Oh, I don't know. We'll have to.
Please forgive my
it'll be in the clip.
there, yeah.
It's a common occurrence, and the magnetic poles flip regularly over time.
Yeah. So we don't know what the effects were from the last one.
No,
I suppose. Do we know?
Well, there was no documented case. It was years ago. Yeah. So thoughts and prayers go out to Turkey and everyone there. Some of the most horrific earthquake clips I've ever seen. 9,000 people are assumed to be dead.
Oh, that's horrific.
9,000. That's insane. It's such a huge amount of people. I saw TikTok, this poor guy outside his block of flats where he lived and his mum and dad lived, and he can hear his mum and dad screaming in the rubble to be rescued. There's just so much rubble you can't get to them. He's there just outside. The news reporter's looking at him. He's hysterical. He's just, his mum and dad, he can hear them.
Oh, that's horrific.
Horrific. Utterly horrific.
And are they getting aid? Are they getting help?
Are they getting what?
Aid and help to...
Sorry.
Oh, my God.
Yes.
Yes.
I believe England or the UK started sending aid yesterday.
Fuck, it's not quick enough, is it?
And I believe the rest of the world is doing their thing. But the problem is with earthquakes like that is you've got 3 days.
Yeah.
You've got 3 days to... After 3 days, I think it's something like 98% of people they find after 3 days are dead. Yeah. So
either from their injuries or crushing.
It's the dehydration which is the issue.
Well, when the building collapses, you get all the dust and it's
that as well, and that's going to dry you out. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a very it's awful. Prayers go out to everyone in Turkey.
If anyone's been affected by it, please do let us know in the comments. We would love to hear your story. I hope your friends and family are safe.
I hope they're happy stories too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Want to see some good stuff come out of this.
Shot, bring what you got. We're going all the way to the top. We will hear the sound of 1 million people screaming our names when we're back.